Deep within the damp walls of a dungeon, Orhun moves with a grace that suggests years of practice. He strikes down monsters with his blade, feeling the weight of his weapon and the rhythm of his breathing. He tells himself that he hasn't gotten as out of shape as he feared and feels confident that he can still make it as a swordsman. However, his combat style is not limited to physical strength alone. He pauses to cast a spell called Strength Up, a form of support magic designed to enhance his physical abilities. Orhun understands the intricate mechanics of support magic better than most. He knows that these spells can improve a target's strength, or even harden their equipment. While most casters use these spells to help their allies from the rear, Orhun applies them to himself, boosting both his offense and defense. Yet, he is acutely aware of the primary weakness of such magic: time. Every spell has a duration, and for Orhun, his physical resistance limits his buffs to exactly 180 seconds. As the 3-minute mark approaches, he recasts the spell, knowing that an enchanter is always in a race against the clock. Most people would never dream of trying to maintain such complex magic while simultaneously swinging a heavy sword in the heat of battle, but Orhun's path is different. This solitary training is the result of a painful betrayal. He remembers a time not long ago when he was part of an elite group. He recalls standing before Oliver, the leader of the hero's party and his childhood friend. Oliver told him coldly that he was being kicked out of the group. Orhun was stunned, reminding Oliver that they were comrades who had grown up together. But Oliver was unmoved, claiming that Orhun simply couldn't keep up with the rest of them anymore. Other members of the party, Annalie and Derek, were even harsher, telling him he was nothing more than a weight slowing them down. Orhun thinks back on the 8 years he spent building that party from nothing to an S-rank legend. They were the first to reach the 94th floor of the Southern Great Dungeon, earning them the title of the Hero's Party. When he tried to warn Oliver that the group was making a mistake, Oliver pointed to a recent joint raid. He claimed that after seeing the enchanters from other top-tier parties, he realized how weak Orhun's support magic truly was. Orhun tried to explain that he was primarily a swordsman who had invented his own hybrid style of magic to fill a hole in their team, but his former friends only mocked him. They told him he was mediocre at both swordplay and magic, reaching only an A-rank level in each. They informed him they had already found a better, more specialized enchanter to take his place. Before he left, Annalie spat out a final insult, calling him a jack-of-all-trades and saying his constant advice had only annoyed them. Now, alone in the dungeon, Orhun resolves to turn that insult into his greatest strength. He vows to become an adventurer who can do anything, proving that his adaptability is a gift rather than a curse. After reaching a teleportation crystal on the 7th floor and saving his progress, Orhun prepares to leave for the day. His exit is interrupted by a group of 4 adventurers running in a panic toward the crystal. They are breathing hard and shouting about an overwhelming number of orcs. Orhun listens in disgust as the leader of the group tries to justify their cowardice. He admits that they left a girl behind, a new recruit who had just joined them that very day. The leader insists that prioritizing his old friends was the right call, even if it meant leaving the girl to die. Orhun tries to tell himself not to get involved, but the memory of being abandoned by his own party is too fresh and painful. He confronts the group, telling them that their excuses are pathetic. When the leader claims he couldn't have saved her alone, Orhun demands to know where they left her. He decides to head back into the danger, unwilling to let another person feel the sting of being discarded. Deep in the dungeon, a young girl named Sophia is cornered against a stone wall. A horde of orcs looms over her, and she screams for her sister or anyone else to save her. Just as the monsters close in, a blast of wind magic called Arrow Shock tears through the air. Orhun arrives and immediately begins stacking his buffs: Strength Up, Technical Up, and Sharpness Up. Sophia watches in awe as this stranger moves like a whirlwind, combining high-level swordplay with rapid-fire support magic. She has never seen anyone fight with such a versatile, self-sufficient style. Orhun handles the entire pack of orcs alone. Sophia breaks into tears of relief, overwhelmed by the fact that she is still alive. Once they are safely out of the dungeon, Orhun tries to take his leave, but Sophia insists on thanking him properly. She introduces herself as Sophia Claudel. Orhun recognizes the name and the crest on her cape, realizing she belongs to the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, one of the most powerful and famous guilds in the kingdom. Sophia convinces him to let her treat him to dinner at a nearby restaurant. When they arrive, Orhun realizes the shop is owned by the Silver Rabbits. Their meal is interrupted by a woman with a commanding presence. Sophia is shocked to see her older sister, Selma Claudel, who is the leader of the most powerful S-rank party in the guild and arguably the greatest enchanter on the continent. Selma is the one who revolutionized the modern party system, dividing adventurers into specialized roles like attackers, defenders, and supporters. This very system is what led to Orhun being forced out of the heroes' party. Selma is initially hostile toward Orhun, assuming he is some older man trying to take advantage of her 14-year-old sister. She is protective and sharp-tongued, but Sophia quickly corrects her, explaining that Orhun saved her life after she went into the dungeon without permission. Selma softens and thanks Orhun, admitting that they had met briefly during the raid last month. She recalls that Orhun had been incredibly helpful under her command. Selma is shocked to learn that Orhun has left the heroes' party. She can't understand why they would let go of someone with his talent. Seeing an opportunity, she offers him a job. She wants him to join a teaching expedition for the Silver Rabbit's new recruits. The mission involves taking the new members 50 floors down into the dungeon over just 3 days. A breakneck pace that Orhun realizes is designed to quickly strengthen the guild by having veterans clear the floor bosses for the rookies. Selma takes Orhun's hands and confesses that she deeply respects him as an enchanter. This praise makes Orhun happy, especially after being called weak by his former friends. But he is still hesitant. He tells her that he has decided to give up being a professional enchanter and has converted to a swordsman. Selma is surprised by this change, but agrees to let him join the expedition in whatever role he chooses. She believes that if things get difficult, he will naturally return to his true calling of support magic. Sophia pleads with him to come along, and Orhun eventually agrees to meet them at the guild headquarters the next morning. Before the expedition begins, Orhun visits a local shop run by a kind old man he has known for years. He feels a sense of shame as he tells the old man that he is no longer a hero and can no longer bring prestige or business to the store. He fears that without his title, he is worthless. However, the old man offers him a different perspective. He tells Orhun that he is grateful for him, not because of his title, but because of the person he is. He insists that Orhun's hard work and character are what truly matter. The old man encourages him to live for himself and to treasure the thank yous he receives from those he helps, because those words prove that he is needed in this world. This conversation gives Orhun a newfound sense of peace and purpose. The next morning, Orhun arrives at the Silver Rabbit headquarters. Selma notices that he looks much more lively and refreshed than he did the day before. Orhun admits that he feels a sense of relief to finally be free of the heroes' party and the expectations that came with it. As Orhun settles into his new reality outside the heroes' party, he finds himself standing in the presence of Vince Briars, the leader of the Night Sky Silver Rabbit clan. Vince acknowledges that Orhun has left his former comrades and suggests that they speak plainly to one another, avoiding any political games. Orhun agrees, feeling a sense of relief that he doesn't have to hide his history here. Vince hands the floor to Selma to explain the specifics of the teaching expedition. The plan is ambitious and grueling. They intend to escort a large group of rookies from the first floor all the way down to the 51st floor of the Great Dungeon in a mere 3 days. Selma outlines a strict schedule where they must reach the 21st floor by the end of the first day and the 36th by the second. While Orhun listens to the briefing, Vince reflects on the conversation he had with Selma when he first learned of Orhun's departure. He had initially been skeptical, finding it hard to believe that the heroes' party would let such a valuable asset go. Selma, however, had been adamant about Orhun's worth. She explained that while his raw magical power might be lower than average, his casting speed is nearly 4 times faster than her own. She praised his ability to analyze chaotic battlefields, predict enemy movements, and provide perfectly timed support magic using original spells he created himself. Selma believes that without Orhun, the heroes' party has been severely weakened, giving the Silver Rabbits a golden opportunity to reclaim their spot at the top of the rankings. She notes that while she is famous, truly powerful individuals like Orhun often remain in the shadows because their contributions are so seamless that they don't stand out to the untrained eye. Back in the present, Orhun quickly breaks down the logistics of the mission. There are 10 parties of rookies and only 5 escorts, including himself and Selma. The rookies will rotate through combat duties while the veterans step in only when something unusual happens. Orhun voices a concern that many would have. Why are there only 5 escorts for such a dangerous and fast-paced mission? Selma claims that the extra stress will help the rookies grow, but Orhun senses there is a deeper, more secret reason the guild is pushing so hard with such a small team. Despite his suspicions, he accepts the job when Vince offers a massive payment of 12 gold pieces, enough to live comfortably for an entire year. Selma smiles, telling him that the guild simply values his skills that highly. The following morning, the expedition gathers at the entrance of the Great Dungeon. Orhun meets Sophia, who is dressed in a fresh rookie outfit, and he kindly tells her that she looks good in the new gear. This small bit of flattery prompts a bit of teasing from Selma, who asks if Orhun is used to talking to girls because he has a girlfriend. Orhun quickly denies it, explaining that living in a mansion with female party members simply taught him how to be polite. The conversation takes a slightly awkward turn when Sophia asks where Orhun is living now, and Selma jokingly wonders if her younger sister is planning to visit him at his inn. Orhun purposefully keeps his distance from the main group of rookies, worried that his presence as a legendary adventurer might make them even more nervous. Selma notices this and leads him over to meet the other escorts, Anthem and Bernard, two sturdy defenders, and Kathy, a cheerful healer. When Selma introduces Orhun as a strong addition to the team, he tries to stay humble, but Selma refuses to let him hide his light. Orhun introduces himself as a frontline attacker, which confuses the group since he is known as an enchanter. Internally, Selma remembers her own struggle to convince Vince to let Orhun play an offensive role, but she remains hopeful that his new path as a swordsman will bear fruit. To kick off the mission, Selma gathers all the rookies and gives a stirring speech. She introduces Orhun as a former member of the Heroes Party who has reached the 94th floor. The rookies are instantly starstruck, whispering about the heroes, and feeling a massive surge of confidence. Orhun finds the grand introduction a bit much, but he understands that his reputation is being used to calm the rookies' fears. Selma assigns Orhun to Group 10, which she describes as her most promising stars. However, when Orhun meets them, he realizes he has been handed a trio of problem kids. The group consists of Logan Hayward, a cocky young enchanter who dreams of surpassing Selma, Caroline Inglot, a reckless defender who refuses to wear armor because she wants to dodge everything, and Sophia, who acts as a caster. Logan is arrogant, and Caroline is impulsive, but Sophia's presence makes Orhun feel slightly more at ease. He realizes that while they are talented, they don't actually know how to work as a team. As they begin their descent, the dungeon air turns cold. Caroline is relentless with her questions, prying into why Orhun would ever leave a famous group like the Heroes Party. Orhun tries to remain professional, telling her it's none of her business, but her persistent curiosity starts to wear on him. He notices that Sophia seems nervous, and he realizes that Caroline might actually be talking so much just to help her friend relax. Orhun demonstrates his expertise by setting invisible trap spells behind the group as they walk. These spells trigger automatically if monsters try to sneak up on them, allowing the party to move quickly without being slowed down by useless fights. By the time they reach the 21st floor, Orhun has finished his evaluation of Group 10. He sees that Logan is a genius enchanter but a terrible leader who can't give orders. Caroline is incredibly fast but lacks the destructive power to finish fights on her own. Sophia is solid and capable, but she is still too passive. He sees a lot of potential in them, but knows they have a long way to go. The day ends successfully as the escorts quickly dispatch the floor boss, and the rookies register their progress at the teleportation crystal. The next morning, Orhun's mood is soured when he reads the newspaper. A front-page article announces that the Heroes Party has officially replaced him with a new enchanter, making his banishment public knowledge. He worries that the rookies will see the news and lose respect for him. As he walks through the streets to the meeting point, he is stopped by a blue-haired girl named Luna. She is a former comrade from the Heroes Party who was away on an errand when he was kicked out. Luna is distraught and begs Orhun to come back, promising that she will convince the rest of the party to take him in. She hasn't seen the newspaper yet and still believes they can fulfill the promise they made as children to clear the Great Dungeon together. Orhun looks at her with a mix of sadness and resolve. He explains that it is too late. The promise was broken the moment Oliver kicked him out. He tells her that he has no desire to return to a place where he is no longer wanted. As he walks away, he thinks back to their childhood, mourning the loss of the bond they once shared. The past is dead, and Orhun knows that he must now forge a new future, far away from the shadows of his former friends. As he walks toward the dungeon entrance, his mind dwells on the headline of the morning newspaper. The article explicitly states that he was banished from the Heroes Party because he was too weak to keep up. He knew the news would break eventually, but the timing is terrible. He wonders how many people will still trust his skills now that his supposed failures are public knowledge. At the meeting point, the atmosphere is noticeably colder than the day before. The rookies huddle together, whispering about the article. They discuss the shocking news that Orhun didn't just leave the group, but was kicked out for being a liability. Logan, the confident young enchanter, is particularly skeptical. noting that Orhun's story from the previous day doesn't match the news. When Orhun finally arrives and offers a simple greeting, the response from the crowd is hesitant and awkward. The contrast to yesterday's hero worship is stark. Selma approaches Orhun immediately, her expression full of guilt. She apologizes profusely, explaining that she had no idea the news would break today. She feels responsible because she used his reputation to inspire the recruits, and now she fears the expedition will fail because of the scandal. Orhun remains calm, telling her there is no need for apologies. He warns her that if she loses her composure, the mission really will fall apart. He promises to back her up and encourages the other escorts to keep their heads high. His steady nature impresses the veteran adventurers, who agree that reaching the 94th floor is an incredible feat regardless of why he left the party. When Group 10 gathers, the reactions are mixed. Sophia and Caroline are fiercely loyal, insisting the article is full of lies and that the news doesn't change how they feel. Logan, however, asks Orhun directly if the story is true. Orhun admits that most of it is correct. He confesses that by the standards of the hero's party, he was considered too weak, and he apologizes for not being entirely transparent. Sophia argues that she saw him defeat a dozen orcs single-handedly, so he couldn't possibly be weak. Orhun thanks her for the support and promises that while he may not be a hero anymore, he will protect them as an explorer named Orhun Dura. The group enters the southern Great Dungeon once again, moving from the 21st floor toward the 35th. For the first several levels, the rookies continue to take the lead while the escorts observe. Orhun praises the girls for their combat skills, relieved to see that they still trust him. However, once they reach the 31st floor, the difficulty spikes. This marks the beginning of the middle floors, and Orhun officially takes command of Group 10. He immediately senses monsters ahead and prepares the team for battle. His orders are precise. He tells Caroline to draw the attention of the local goblins, while Sophia focuses on the orcs in the rear. He instructs Logan to provide magical buffs. Logan follows the orders, but privately thinks that Orhun's strategy seems basic and unremarkable. He begins to wonder if Orhun is truly special at all. However, the battle shifts when an orc lunges at Sophia. Logan expects Orhun to leap in and save her, but Orhun remains still, instead casting a debuff called Agility Down on the monster. He calmly tells Sophia that she isn't alone and that she should trust her comrades. Encouraged, Sophia unleashes an advanced spell called Fire Javelin, incinerating the orc instantly. Orhun is surprised by her power, as no one mentioned she could use such high-level magic. Logan is even more stunned. He realizes that Orhun's subtle debuff and his psychological support were what allowed Sophia to succeed. The true test comes on the 35th floor when they encounter a death tarantula. The rookies are terrified, knowing they aren't strong enough to face such a beast. Logan waits for a change in strategy, but Orhun gives the same basic buff orders as before. When Caroline charges recklessly, Logan tries to stop her, but Orhun intervenes with a specific instruction. He tells her to jump over the creature and slash at its back. As the fight progresses, Orhun manages every detail. He tells Logan to focus entirely on Caroline's mobility because her life depends on her ability to dodge the spider's venom. When the spider eventually catches Caroline in its webbing and drags her toward its mouth, panic sets in, but Orhun is prepared. He reveals that he had Logan cast strength and technical buffs earlier specifically, so Caroline would have the power to cut herself free from the reinforced silk. Orhun then coordinates a finishing move. He notices Logan's buffs are about to wear off, and tells him to refresh Sophia's magic power immediately. While Logan can only maintain 3 spells at once, Orhun steps in to provide the 4th, casting Sharpness Up on Caroline's daggers. This allows Caroline to break free, while Sophia delivers a crushing blow with a rock arrow spell. The spider is defeated, and Logan finally realizes the truth. Orhun wasn't just giving orders, he was reading the entire flow of the battle, predicting the enemy's moves, and perfectly timing every buff and debuff. He realizes Orhun is far more skilled than he ever imagined. After the successful day, the other escorts, Anthem and Bernard, invite Orhun to dinner. They aren't bothered by the newspaper article and want to get to know their new teammate. During the meal, they ask him why a legendary enchanter would suddenly convert to being a swordsman. Orhun explains that he wanted to be a swordsman since he was a child, inspired by his grandfather who once saved their village from a monster with a single blade. He reveals that he only became an enchanter because his party needed one to maintain their speed in the lower floors. As a jack of all trades, he was the only one capable of making the switch. However, he expresses regret, saying they should have slowed down and grown stronger rather than relying on his magic to skip ahead. He grimly predicts that without his support, the hero's party has zero chance of ever moving past the 94th floor. He defines his new goal. He wants to be a swordsman who is so versatile that he can conquer the deepest floors of a dungeon entirely on his own. Meanwhile, at a bathhouse, the girls of Group 10 discuss the end of the expedition. Caroline points out that tomorrow is their last day with Orhun, and Sophia admits she will be sad to see him go. She wishes he would stay with the Silver Rabbits permanently. Caroline encourages her to simply ask him to stay, noting that Selma gets what she wants by being direct. Sophia worries that such a request would be selfish, but as she thinks about never seeing Orhun again, she begins to wonder if she should take the chance and ask him to remain by her side. The morning after the conversation at the bathhouse, the final day of the joint expedition begins. Orhun stands at the entrance of the dungeon, looking at a sight he believes he might never see again. His thoughts are interrupted as Logan, Caroline, and Sophia arrive and greet him. Logan notes that their training is finally ending today, and Orhun tells them to stay alert so everyone can return safely. Caroline eagerly asks Orhun for a special reward for completing the mission. When Orhun asks what she wants, Caroline points to Sophia, hinting that her friend has a request too. Sophia freezes, remembering her wish from the previous night to have Orhun stay with her guild permanently. Before Sophia can speak, another adventurer loudly calls Orhun away for assistance. Orhun apologizes and leaves. On his way over, Orhun overhears a group of adventurers talking about the newly restructured Heroes Party. They mention that the group is testing their teamwork by diving straight onto the 92nd floor today. Orhun thinks to himself that a new party should start on lower floors first, but he quickly reminds himself that their choices are no longer his concern. Down on the 92nd floor, Oliver stands before his party and confidently announces the first adventure of their reborn team. He boasts that they are finally free of the dead weight holding them back, introduces their new enchanter Philly, and declares their goal to clear the entire dungeon. The group cheers, telling Philly to impress them. Oliver smiles, certain that a successful run will finally prove to Luna that he was right to kick Orhun out. This reckless confidence stems from a welcome party held 2 days earlier. Philly introduces herself to the group as Philly Carpenter, expressing her pride in joining such a famous party. Oliver welcomes her, highlighting her achievement of reaching the 100th floor in the Western Dungeon and calling her their first real enchanter. Derek and Annalie express relief at finally getting real buffs instead of Orhun's weak magic. Derek adds that he was shocked by the massive amount of money Orhun left in the party accounts, and Annalie complains about how stingy Orhun was. Philly points out that the funds were meant for party activities, but Oliver quickly shifts the focus back to celebrating. Luna arrives late to the party with urgent news, revealing she just heard that Orhun is diving into the Great Dungeon with the Night Sky Silver Rabbits. Oliver and Annalie react with shock and disbelief, wondering how a weakling could join such a top-tier guild. Luna demands to know what happened while she was gone. Annalie and Derek bluntly reveal that they kicked Orhun out 3 days ago. Luna is devastated, asking if Orhun finally gave up on them, but Derek snaps that they were the ones who threw him out. Oliver confirms it and introduces Philly as the replacement. Luna immediately opposes the choice, reminding them she never agreed to replace Orhun. Oliver claims Orhun simply lacked the strength for the deep floors, but Luna fiercely argues that Orhun was the core of the party, and they cannot advance without him. Annalie scoffs, saying the rest of the world does not share Luna's high opinion of him. Oliver interrupts to lay out the upcoming plan, stating they will test their synergy on the 92nd floor in 2 days. Philly apologizes for slowing them down, but Oliver reassures her. Luna strongly objects to the plan, stating she has no desire to die. Derek and Annalie mock her fears, pointing out they already cleared the 93rd floor. Luna reminds them of the terrifying black dragon on that level, which they barely defeated last time. Derek blames that struggle on Orhun, and Annalie claims the fight will be easy now. Oliver claims they only intend to test their teamwork and will avoid the dragon, but Derek and Annalie openly plan to fight it anyway. Luna begs them to reconsider the massive risk, but Oliver declares the decision is final, and she cannot refuse. Back in the present, the battle on the 92nd floor quickly turns disastrous. Oliver strikes a monster, but his sword fails to pierce it. Derek tells him to back up and takes over, while Oliver gasps for breath. Oliver complains that every time his buffs wear off, his entire body feels heavy, and he demands to know why Philly's magic keeps expiring so fast. Philly panics, explaining she has not figured out their fighting styles yet. Oliver angrily notes that Orhun figured it out within an hour on their first day. Nearby, Derek tries to block an attack, but slips, wondering why he can no longer block things easily. Annalie unleashes a fire bullet, but it does absolutely nothing to the beast. Oliver yells at her to stop slacking, but Annalie insists she is casting it with her usual power. Oliver tells Philly to buff Annalie again, which she does, but a second fire bullet fails just as badly. Oliver grows frantic, wondering why they are so weak when Philly's magic is supposed to be superior. Derek begs for help, and Oliver orders Annalie to flank the creature. She is nearly crushed by an attack, screaming that this has never happened before. Oliver barks at Philly to predict the monster's next move, but Philly cries out that it is impossible because she is using all her focus just to cast basic magic. Annalie snaps that Philly is completely useless. Oliver realizes that his own physical strength is entirely drained, and Luna steps forward, asking if they finally understand why they are failing. Before anyone can answer, the massive black dragon unexpectedly appears outside of its designated boss room. Luna immediately orders a retreat, but Derek and Annalie stubbornly refuse, wanting to kill the beast. Luna insists they cannot win, but Oliver argues that they beat it once before and can do it again. Derek charges forward but is instantly knocked unconscious by a single strike. Oliver screams his name and turns to Philly, only to find her completely paralyzed by fear. Annalie throws a fire javelin at the dragon, but it shatters harmlessly, and the dragon knocks her out cold too. Luna yells that they must pull out immediately. Oliver is frozen in shock until Luna shakes him, warning him they will be wiped out. The dragon begins charging its most powerful breath attack, and Luna tells Oliver to buy them time. Oliver demands a buff from the terrified Philly. She complies, and Oliver uses his magical convergence to launch a divine flash attack. The massive beam hits the dragon but inflicts 0 damage. Oliver drops his weapon, completely broken, and asks Luna what they should do. Luna tells him it is his job as the leader to decide, then instructs him to use the Fickle Gate. Philly warns that the emergency item will forcibly transport them to a random boss room where they will have to fight immediately, but Luna argues it is better than facing the black dragon. As they prepare to jump, the swift dragon leaps into the closing portal ahead of them, disappearing entirely. Derek wakes up and sighs with relief, thinking they are saved because the dragon is gone. Luna snaps that this is the worst possible outcome, explaining that the dragon has now been unleashed into a random part of the dungeon to ambush unsuspecting adventurers. Philly admits she did not know a boss could use a gate. Luna declares they must return to the guild immediately to trigger a forced teleportation for everyone inside the dungeon. Oliver worries about the guild penalties, but Luna tells him to stop worrying about that and start moving. As Luna applies basic healing to Derek and Annalie, she insists they need to swap Philly for Orhan immediately. Derek angrily refuses to beg him for help. Luna tells them it is time they face reality, stating that their individual strength has not changed at all. Oliver demands to know why they are so weak if that is true, pointing out his strongest attack did nothing. Luna explains that his divine flash failed because he barely spent any time gathering magical energy. Oliver is confused, and Luna asks if he knows the basic rules of support magic. Oliver explains that the caster sets the power, while the target's magic resistance sets the duration. Philly adds that because the hero's party has exceptionally high resistance, her buffs only last a minute or two on them. Oliver admits he never knew this, and Luna explains that Orhan simply managed their limitations perfectly. Oliver argues that Philly is more talented and should be able to do the same, but Luna reveals that Orhan created highly specialized original magic to overcome his low power. Annalie and Derek find this impossible to believe, but Luna explains that one of Orhun's original spells can increase a stat's potency by over 50 times. Philly is stunned, noting that even the top enchanters can only manage a 10-fold increase. Luna explains that Orhan's massive boost made Oliver and Annalie arrogant, causing them to stop focusing on their own magical concentration and rely on weak, easy spells. She adds that Orhan also reinforced Derek's defenses and made his buffs fade smoothly, so they never felt a sudden loss of energy. She asks if they finally understand their mistake, and a quiet Oliver admits that he does, though it is now too late. The battered party finally runs out of the dungeon entrance. A crowd of regular adventurers spots them and begins whispering in awe, assuming their deep floor run with their new enchanter went perfectly. They cheer for the legendary heroes party. Oliver ignores the praise, spiraling into deep shame and anger. He realizes they are not heroes at all and have just put every single person in the dungeon in terrible danger. He grips his weapon in frustration, fiercely trying to convince himself that he was the one who defeated the dragon before, desperately wanting to believe his party is perfectly fine without Orhan. While the disgraced hero party flees in panic, Orhun stands deep within the caves alongside his expedition group, outlining the day's objectives. Their main goal is to clear floors 36 through 50, then use teleportation crystals on floor 51 to return to the surface. Sophia nods determinedly, promising their best effort. The plan is simple. The experienced chaperones will handle monsters the recruits cannot manage, and everyone will join forces for boss battles. This task should be doable, but as Orhun looks around the cavern, a sudden wave of unease washes over him. He senses that something truly terrible is looming within the great dungeon today. Caroline skips over, eagerly asking what monsters they will encounter, and admitting she cannot wait to fight them. Orhun gently warns her she cannot just recklessly rush ahead. He reminds her to remember her role as a defender, which requires patience and teamwork. Caroline argues that defensive play just means others must work harder. She insists on fighting on the front lines and asks for combat advice. Orhun explains that an individual can only accomplish so much, advising her to think of herself as part of a team while she is still new to the trade. Caroline huffs that he is no fun at all. Logan defends Orhun, noting he is being kind to offer advice. He reminds Caroline that the legendary hero Albert always emphasized teamwork. Orhun recognizes the name Albert, the undisputed ace of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits. He adds that Albert tragically died last year fighting the Black Dragon on floor 92. Logan states Albert remains a hero to the entire clan. Caroline grows quiet, explaining that Albert died protecting a comrade because their defender failed. She reasons that if she fights alone on the front lines and keeps others far away, her teammates will never be in danger. Orhun notices her intense expression and decides not to press her on her personal grief. He simply tells her they count on her skills today, and Caroline brightens up. At floor 36, Selma reminds Orhun to stay sharp on this final day. She notes that the recruits have taken a liking to him. Orhun admits his relief, having worried about their reaction to the recent newspaper article. Selma asks him to look after Logan and Caroline, noting their bright futures. She mentions that losing Albert was a massive blow, allowing the hero party to take the lead in conquering the dungeon. Orhun reflects that the Black Dragon was tough for his old party too, and they easily could have lost someone. Selma admits they are struggling to replace Albert, then directly invites Orhun to join them. Orhun declines, noting a party does not need two enchanters, especially when they have the continent's best. Selma points out he would join as a swordsman anyway, promising to watch his combat skills closely during the upcoming floor boss battle. On floor 40, Selma splits the expedition into smaller groups, planning to regroup before the floor boss. Time skips forward as Group 10 navigates the tunnels alone. When Sophia confesses her nervousness, Orhun explains that finding the boss on separate paths is part of their training. Caroline asks Orhun to share his knowledge since he has been deeper than anyone. Logan and Sophia eagerly ask about the lower floors. Orhun explains that floor 76 begins with a snowy mountain region with blizzards and ice lizards, while floor 91 transitions into a rotten swamp. At the Adventurers Guild, an emergency erupts. Luna rushes in, demanding the guild master. She requests an immediate forced teleportation for everyone inside the dungeon. On floor 40, Sophia and Logan notice a strange lack of monsters. Logan asks Orhun if floor 40 is usually like this. Orhun shakes his head. Internally, his anxiety spikes. It feels as if the monsters are absent because they are completely terrified of something else. Caroline then spots a monster and charges. Orhun yells for her to wait, quickly casting an agility down debuff. Caroline slays the slowed Azure Goblin, bragging about her victory. Orhun reprimands her for running off, while Logan points out she would be in trouble without the debuff. When Caroline dismisses the danger because she won, Orhun counters that a defender's recklessness forces teammates to risk their lives to save her. Caroline apologizes in guilt. Softening his tone, Orhun offers a lesson on active defense for dodge-type defenders. He explains that since enemies physically prepare before striking, like stepping forward to punch, striking their vital points or legs at that exact split second neutralizes the attack entirely. Caroline gasps in amazement, glad she can still fight up front. Orhun reminds her that her goal is to draw attention and disrupt attacks, not defeat enemies. Caroline thanks him, and Logan immediately asks for a lesson next. At the guild, the master hesitates about the forced teleportation, citing its immense mana cost. But Luna reveals that the floor 92 boss, the Black Dragon, used a fickle gate to relocate to an unknown floor. The master gasps in shock. Luna apologizes, explaining they did not know a floor boss could use magic items, and warns that adventurers might already be in danger. In the cavern, Logan asks Orhun about using debuffs. Orhun explains that debuffs are advanced support magic, highly dependent on the target's status. An enchanter must precisely calculate an enemy's magic resistance. Furthermore, powerful monsters past Floor 61 and floor bosses barely feel them, meaning advanced adventurers rarely bother. He tells Logan he would need to memorize every monster's resistance. Logan realizes he is not ready, and Orhun advises him to focus on mastering his existing buffs and gaining experience. To cheer him up, Orhun tells the group to look behind them just as a pack of wolves triggers a hidden spell and vanishes. Logan asks in shock what happened. Orhun explains it is trap magic, and when Sophia asks when he set it up, he reveals he has been placing them along their entire path. Orhun notes that trapping avenues of attack allows a party to focus entirely on the foes in front. Logan realizes that an enchanter's job is to manipulate the entire battlefield to their advantage, admiring Orhun deeply. Orhun then turns to Sophia. In the casting chamber, the guild master prepares the force teleport, warning that a spell of this scale takes time to charge. He glares at Oliver, placing full responsibility on him. The other party members protest their innocence, but the casting mages snap at them to shut up, as lives are at stake. Back in the dungeon, Orhun advises Sophia to master parallel construction, the ability to cast multiple spells simultaneously. Sophia finds it daunting, but Orhun reassures her that anyone can manage 2 at once with practice, and some can manage dozens. Sophia asks why it is so critical if an advanced caster already has special rank magic. Orhun explains that deep dungeon monsters survive single special rank spells. Chaining them normally leaves a caster vulnerable during preparation, but starting a second spell midway through the first eliminates downtime. He adds that combining mid-ranked spells with physical attacks is often more useful than relying solely on high-tier magic. Sophia smiles, glad to learn this. Orhun suggests she ask Selma for training, but Sophia blushes, admitting she wants Orhun to teach her instead. Orhun agrees, provided Selma approves, and a joyful Sophia notes her sister never refuses her. At the guild, the mages prepare to launch the teleport once fully charged. The master orders the hero party to defeat the Black Dragon during the evacuation. The members panic, complaining they have not recovered, but Luna cuts through their whining to agree, heading out while making a final request to the master. On floor 50, the groups gather. Selma orders the recruits to stay in the safe zone, while the chaperones fight the boss. Orhun tells his protégés to watch closely. He promises the other chaperones his full support so they can finish the battle quickly. During the battle, the recruits watch their lessons manifest perfectly. Caroline spots Orhun using active defense. Logan sees him cut off the boss's escape, and Sophia watches Selma handle 5 spells at once. The chaperones slay the boss instantly. Caroline is stunned by how they lock down enemy movements, while Logan and Sophia admire the seamless teamwork. Sophia realizes not a single movement is wasted, inspiring her to become an advanced adventurer. The hero party runs back toward the dungeon entrance. Oliver asks Luna why she requested an immediate evacuation for floors 40 through 50 first. Luna answers that Orhun is likely down there. The others scoff at the jack-of-all-trades, but Luna glares, stating bluntly that they are the weakest S-rank party and cannot win without Orhun. Despite their offended protests, she concludes their survival depends entirely on him. On floor 50, a second boss monster emerges. Selma tells Orhun it is up to him to cut off its claws so they can shatter its shell and go home. Orhun jokes that she makes it sound easy, but Selma smiles, saying it is easy for him. The other chaperones express concern over the giant crab's tough shell, but Orhun draws his blade and steps forward as Sophia and Caroline cheer him on. Orhun charges, channeling magic into his sword and striking with the word impact. He severs the claw in a single blow. Orhun pulls back, reflecting on his self-made spell, impact, which instantly multiplies his equipment's power and magic up to 100 times. Selma orders an immediate all-out attack on the vulnerable monster, and the party finishes it off. She praises their hard work over the 3-day trip and announces their return home. Orhun sighs in relief, glad nothing went wrong. Suddenly, a terrifying crack tears through reality. Orhun watches in absolute horror as the legendary Black Dragon emerges, a completely impossible nightmare on this floor.